There's no point, Nick. This country's over. This country's finished. If I could afford it, I'd leave. And I say to them, you sound just like a coward, mate. But this will be seen as a blip in this island nation's history. It's a blip. We're going to get over it. The sooner we realise that, the sooner we're going to get over it. Aim for what you want. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there. As long as you can see progress every day, every year, that you're slightly closer to where you're trying to go. Because once you start that journey and the country starts that journey, it will attract people more intelligent than me, better leaders than me, better politicians, more people involved. And then things start speeding up. And that attracts more people. The next thing you know, it might take a couple of years of we make a couple of steps, but suddenly we're jumping yards at a time. And then within a year, we've solved everything because everything just takes off. I'm tired of people telling me, there's no point, Nick. This country's over. This country's finished. If I could afford it, I'd leave. And I say to them, you sound just like a coward, mate. That's what you sound like. You sound just like a coward. You sound like all those cowards in 1939 who wanted to do a deal with Hitler and the Nazis because they thought England and UK was finished. You sound like, we've always had cowards. It's a human trait. And I don't want to listen to cowards anymore. I want some inspiration and aspiration. I want a dream. People can live through hard times if they know better times are coming for them, their children or their grandchildren. We need politicians to sell us a vision of where they're taking us. And it is going to be hard because we've got decades of mistakes to overcome. But do you know what? We're a hardy people. We're an island people. We've got over worse than this before. The Spanish tried to invade us 3 times with the Armada. Napoleon was off the coast waiting for a summer's day to sail the boats across, but the weather saved us. 1970s, we're almost a communist state. We were the sick man of Europe. We had to go to the International Monetary Fund for a bailout because we were failing. We've been in worse situations before, and it's easy to be black-pilled. It's easy to be negative. It's easy to say it's all over. But the reason why people say those things is because A, they're a coward, and it's easier to admit defeat than fight. And a lot of people have been browbeaten over decades that they can't see a way out of it. And I can easily see a way out of it. All you've got to do is stick your head above the clouds, a dark cloud, and you can see a brighter tomorrow. It just seems hard at the moment because we're living through it. But this will be seen as a blip in this island nation's history. It's a blip. We're going to get over it. The sooner we realise that, the sooner we're going to get over it.
I would say it's interesting what you've mentioned in terms of people can't see a way out, because when people can't see a way out, the person who shows them the way is leadership, through leadership, right? I think that's why leadership is so important. And most people do therefore rely on politicians, for example, to show that leadership, right? The prime minister, whatever. So I think what this also demonstrates, if a lot of people in this country are feeling that, they're also feeling lack of leadership, lack of vision. And when people in politics have said they're going to do something, and shown the vision, then the reason why people still are feeling demotivated is because they don't believe they don't believe the politician. So yeah, the person is playing a good game, but they're like, because we don't believe you, we're still blind because we still don't feel we can come out of this. And the fact is, you only get what you put up with, right? If we continue to put up with stuff, this is what we're going to get. And you are absolutely right that the more basically what we're doing is we're diluting the people who are in this country, who are the skilled people, who are the intelligent people, who are the leaders, and we're going to put them off from coming here or staying here. And what we're going to be left with is even worse. And if this continues, there'll be a snowball impact. And what we ideally need is a snowball impact in the other direction, i.e. attracting more skilled people, people who do have a vision, who do have the right traits to be a leader, to get us out of the pickle that we're in. And I think, of course, we need both, basically. We need strong citizens and people, and we need strong leadership. Oh God, yeah, it does seem like it's we're in a pickle. I would say that
it does. But let me emphasize one point you just made. It was a great point. You said we need stronger citizens, and that's what we all can concentrate on doing. Not all of us can set up political parties or lobby our MPs or organize demonstrations or raise money to take governments to court. Hardly anyone can do that. but you can be a stronger citizen, can't you? You can be a better version of you. You can beg less off the state. You can raise your children better. You can stop agreeing with lies that you know are lies because you're a bit of a coward. All those things we can change within ourselves. And if 70 million people just change a little bit, that's a tsunami of change. And politicians then can't pull the wool over our eyes just as easy as they do now, because we'll all be stronger individuals and we'll be more intelligent and smarter and less likely, to take bribes or take the easy route, because we want a better tomorrow. It all starts with better citizens.
But do you also feel like there's a bit of divide and conquer going on as well, deliberately? So, for example, even when stuff isn't Islamophobia, what I see is more, it's actually those people who are white on the left side who are talking about Islamophobia. Like, it's their propaganda, right? And of course, naturally, there will be some weak Muslims who will latch on to that because they also are weak and they don't want to take any responsibility, right? So I do feel as if like there's a divide and conquer strategy going on. And I would say that, yes, we as citizens need to be stronger individually, but we also need to unite, and because we are way stronger if we work together. So what my aim through my channel is to dispel some myths and also be honest about, where there are people doing stuff who happen to share the same race and religion as me, for example, I'm not going to hesitate to call these people out, because that's another myth, that, we won't want to call people out of our own race and religion. And also, I want to inspire other people to do the same. And I am getting more and more supporters from the Muslim background, the Pakistani background, who are doing that slowly and slowly. It will take lots of courage from them, because naturally, you'll know this, right? The community of people, Pakistanis and Muslims generally, are very intolerant. They're not used to criticism. They're not used to criticizing each other. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to dispel some myths. I'm trying to unite the country in my own way, be a bridge between different communities of the West, basically, and the people who have come here, and also inspire other people. So I'm trying to do that in my way, but we all need to seriously unite, because people are just going to take advantage of us, right? Yeah. The politicians or other people outside this country who don't care about us. And they keep banging on about colonialism as an excuse. And, this country's getting its payback for all the shit it's done in the world. I hear that all the time, even in comments. And I feel sad when people say that, because I feel like, are you really blaming the people today for what their ancestors may or may not have done? Because all our ancestors, if we look back far enough, all our ancestors, regardless of race and religion, have done something which I'm sure was very bad. And I wouldn't want to be blamed for what my ancestors, I haven't even met them, right? Who was here 100 years ago? I don't care. Like, I don't know these people. So would I want people to blame me for that? So I do feel sad when people try to justify the downfall of this country because of the past. How does that make you feel when people talk about colonialism?
Yeah, 2 points. The first point is we need to understand why we have these ideologies in the first place and why they're being promoted. We have external enemies. We've always had external enemies. We've been fighting Russia for 200 years. And we've had a Cold War with Russia, a few decades ago. Russia we've been doing exactly the same to them, by the way, and meddling in our affairs. We've got former KGB agents on record on YouTube talking about their plan of how to disrupt the West, make the West hate themselves. And if you get the people turning against each other, that's an easier country to conquer when the war comes. Now, Russia's a nobody anymore. But China, we'll have a war with China in our lifetime. That war's coming. China plays the long game like Russia plays it very well. They've been interfering in our politics and our country for a long time. Hence why we have these movements. And you're right, it's divide and conquer. Because, an ununited country is quite easy to defeat. Now, the people we have useful idiots in this country who don't think they're working for China and Russia, and but they're doing some of their work for them unknowingly, and that comes down to some of the gender ideology, the nutcases who think a man can become a woman, some of the race baiting stuff, and then talk about empire as well. What I say to people who talk about empire, if they're Black African or African descent, I say to them, well, it was the British Empire who stopped your ancestors selling your other ancestors, including your family, into slavery in the first place. White people didn't go to Africa and capture Black Africans. White slave ships went to African ports where black African kings had raided their neighbours' land and enslaved thousands of people and sold them. And they'd been doing it thousands of years before a white man ever turned up in Africa. This was African culture at the time. And what at the time is going on today. There's more black African slaves alive today than ever before in the world, because it's still going on. The British Empire was, if you had to rate the most successful, beneficial empires ever to exist in the world, the British Empire would be at number one by far. Was it perfect? No. But was anything perfect 100, 200 years ago? No, it wasn't. We seem to think that the British Empire invaded countries. We never invaded any countries, really. What we did, we turned up and we got the people living in those countries to work for the British Empire. This tiny island couldn't conquer India. Indian Rajas all got together and supported the British, and that's how we conquered India. But these are just excuses. You know, we don't talk about the Ottoman Empire, do we? The Muslim Ottoman Empire, you know, that you know, killed loads of people, enslaved other Muslims. We don't talk about the Vikings, do we? Raping and pillaging across Europe, taking slaves. That's where the word slave comes from the word Slav, because the Eastern Europeans made up nearly all the slaves of the world at that time, because the Vikings were taking them. But people don't know their history. And the reason why we don't know our history is because our schools don't teach us history. They teach us an ideology. They teach us that the British Empire was bad. The Nazis were bad. Don't be a Nazi. But again, we don't understand who the Nazis were. The Nazis were socialists. You know, I've studied what Hitler wrote about and his plan. There were nearly all socialist agendas: old age pension, imposing rental prices on properties, confiscating businesses. He may not have implemented everything he wanted to do, but he was a socialist. He called himself a socialist. He was just a different type of socialist. He wanted a socialist just for his country, where communists want socialism for the world. He was just particular who he wanted it for. But we don't know any of this. And we're being told all the time, England is racist, Britain's racist, white people are racist. And if it wasn't for the West, we would be living in a utopia. But it's far from the truth. If it wasn't for this little country, there'd be no modern world. You know, it'd be mass starvation. There'd be no medicine, no science, no internet, no planes. If it wasn't for this tiny, tiny little island. And we need to understand our history so we can be proud of it. And then we can celebrate it. And then we can be a prouder nation.